Stratabound Minerals is a gold exploration company that I joined in about 2017. I guess I can talk about three particular things. We have an exciting gold project in the Yukon, which we're really focused on, and an exciting part of the Yukon that's been less explored in the western side. You're hearing all the news on in the White Gold District. We're on the eastern side, which is quite exciting, but we think it's the next go-to place. We have a gold project in another exciting new building area. There's been lots of competitors out there finding more gold in northern New Brunswick, and New Brunswick's been well known for VMS deposits, copper and base metals, but we're finding a lot of gold has been overlooked in the Maritimes, and particularly in New Brunswick. And we have a legacy project that is interesting too, small, but it came with the company when I jumped in about 2017. It's a copper, cobalt, and some gold as well too, and we're taking a look at that again in light of the battery metals revolution. So we think there's some opportunity there as well. Pretty much, I'll circle around a bit to why do we like the Yukon so much. I worked in the past exploring as a North American project manager for a midterm gold company, looking for projects in North America. And the two jurisdictions I liked after spending a couple of years at it was the Maritimes and the Yukon, for the purpose that it had been underlooked. And you got to wonder in the Yukon why you got monster gold deposits in Alaska. You got really exciting stuff happening in BC, and it's the same rocks in the Yukon, and what's the difference? And subsequently found that with Sean Ryan and White Gold and the Golden Saddle and so on in the late 90s and into the 2000s, that all that placer gold, that 20-some million ounces taken out of placer deposits, had been the source of it was there all along. And since then, other companies have been in there. Goldcorp's in there now. The Coffee Project's all in the news. That's on the western Yukon, the Dawson Range. But also in that time slot, I noticed something in the eastern side that was pretty quiet. In about 2005, there's a discovery at the Three Aces project in just north of Watson Lake, about 200 kilometers north of that, and it's parallel belt to the western Yukon. And that was a 5,400 gram per ton discovery at Three Aces back in 2005. And nobody else is doing too much work up there. So I became aware of this property that was available through prospectors. Nobody knew much about it. I took a look at it, got out a helicopter, and I saw an outcrop sticking out of the ground that ran anywhere, dozens of times had been sampled by various different people, anywhere from 7 grams to 22.8 grams. And I thought, that's pretty exciting. Where do you find an outcrop? And it's in the picture right behind me, is just over my shoulder here is where that discovery outcrop was. And it was discovered in 2008. So that's 3 years after the first discovery of Three Aces in the district. By the way, we're only about 25 kilometers away from Three Aces, so we're right on trend and parallel, and nobody else is doing much work. So we thought that's pretty exciting. We're surprised nobody had it. I took a hike up the hill in 2016, and about 800 meters away, there's an outcrop lining up with the main outcrop, and it ran 8 grams, vein sticking out of the ground, and no other work had been done. No drilling had been done, some soil sampling had been done, 3 kilometer by 250 meter wide, plus 30 parts for building soil anomaly. And very little work had been done on it. So I recommended it, but since it didn't have drilling, a major company wasn't interested. And I thought that was kind of nutty, because you drill to find things that are buried by the overburden. And in this case, the rocks are sticking out of the ground, plus float samples on surface running multi-grams. So fast forward, I got approached by Stratabound Minerals. I was looking for a small shell company back in 2017 to put it in. We did. I got asked to board of this company and optioned the property. And since then, we raised $1 million in 2018, put in 8 diamond drill holes, got 65 grams per ton in one hole over 0.9 meters within 33 meters of 2.5 grams. And this is pretty exciting to me. 8 holes are good. We just recently raised $6.7 million just in this October with partially flow through and hard dollars. And we started drilling in August, in late August. And just finishing up our drill program there. There's about 15 drill holes we're wrapping up now. Our permit only allows us to go to the middle of October. So those drill results will be coming out in the next month or so, and that we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, well, it's David Morgan, and of course, I'm interviewing Kim Tyler of Stratabound Minerals, and I asked him off camera exactly what are the projects, and we jumped right in there. So thank you for that. Now that you've given us a great overview of the project, I want to talk a little bit more about the people. So, Kim, you've got a great background, Vail, Rio Tinto, 4 decades in the business. You also have a pretty strong management team. Would you outline that for our viewers?
Yeah, I have to say that we've been through every stage and aspect of mineral resource exploration, development, mining, building them, operating them. we've all done that and all enjoyed it. And I think we've come to this point in our career, and me particularly, yes, I worked for some big companies and I worked for small companies. We've all done that in our team. But we look at a gap, and this is, again, it points out to this opportunity I saw that the big companies started shedding exploration teams, armies of geologists, about 20, 30, 40 people at a time back at the last 3 or 4 decades ago. And there's a gap in the pipeline of projects. You'll see now that the big companies gobble up the smaller ones, and there's nobody really putting any funding into the grassroots and the early stage exploration things. Where are these resources coming from? We know the world's getting bigger. We know the demand is getting there. Where's this all coming from? So I looked at that, and I looked at also Terry Barberg, and I worked for the same company a number of years ago, and that's how we reconnected. He was also a Stratabound, and he hooked up with me and said, would you like to join this junior? And I said, I've got an opportunity here. Later in my career, I've been at it for 40 years, you're right, and we all have, but I thought this looks the closest thing I've ever seen to an early stage project that can be really close to being a mine, and I want to be through all of it. We've done this before at early stage projects, and I said, I want to kick at this again. This is the most fun part of what we do, and that's why we grabbed this opportunity. Yes, we've worked for the big companies, but yes, the point is that we're revisiting our early careers, mine particularly in exploration. I'm a geologist, been a mine geologist, been a mine manager, been a mine operator. But let's go back and do the fun stuff at a really, really nice project that has a really good shot at it and a really good jurisdiction, where Wayne Gretzky would say the puck is going to be next, and where it's not where it's sitting right now. So that's where we think we are, both in New Brunswick and both in the Yukon right now. You see, in both the deposits on the West Coast and what we're looking at on the East Coast, and why I said I like both jurisdictions. And let's talk about Australia too, because once upon a time, 350 to 450 million years ago, there's one giant continent. There weren't a bunch of them. They were all jammed together, and there might have earlier continents that slammed together. And where they did, that time period, all these rocks buckled and fluids came up, and they deposited gold and other base metals in typical orogenic type and intrusive related. Those are the two types of deposits typically you find. And that was happening all around that one big continent. It's since busted apart, and Australia, which was once part of this big continent called Gondwanaland, has got the same age deposits that we see here in the Yukon, and you see them and you see them in Scotland and Ireland. Kurgan is an example, and you'll see it all. Marathon Gold's Valentine Lake in Newfoundland, same age type of thing, and all those deposits there. So that's what geologists should be doing, looking at what the world looked like 300, 400 million years ago, and putting the pieces of the puzzle together and go look in those spots. And that's what we're trying to do here too. And every time you do, you're finding gold deposits the same age.
I'm actually somewhat familiar with that. Well, let's talk about financing. You just raised over 6 million Canadian. Was it troublesome? Was it easy? Tell me about, obviously, and also like to know your burn rate, so we sort of have a look ahead of how long have we got to hang in there with you while you're doing.
Oh boy. A friend of mine just said, he said, we were talking about, you got financed. And I said, yeah. He said, it must feel good. I said, it does. Because it's no doubt, since 2008, it's been awful trying to raise money in the junior land. Some are anointed and lucky, and they've been able to struggle through. But I think we've done better than just survive the last 3 years since I've been with Stratabound. It was definitely difficult. A lack of awareness of who we are. We're, basically, as I said, a shell 3 years ago, and nobody really knew who we were. And marketing wasn't much use because everybody was at the cannabis movies or at the Bitcoin movies, but they weren't going to the resource movies. So you could have the best ticket seller out there, and nobody was coming to the movies, your show. That's changed in the last couple of months. I know that in July, when I was running the projects myself for 3 years. I said, this is important. I feel it's important if I'm going to be out there running it and saving the company and shareholders money in the last few years. But more importantly, when I was gone in July, the gold's price spiked, and I didn't have great communications. And I found out about it, hit $1,900 an ounce. I just about fell over, and we got out, and people were asking to offer us funding. And of course, the cannabis market crashed. So they're back in the resource game again. So I've been pushing on a door for 3 years, and finally it fell open, and I nearly fell on my face because it was suddenly open. So it was a great relief. It was still not easy. It's just difficult closing them. There's people definitely interested, but we were able to. I think initially we were looking at 3 million, and we bumped it up to 5 hard dollars and 2 flow through, and we came a little shy on the flow through, but we overdid it on the hard dollars. So I'm pretty pleased. We went way over our expectations and what we pulled together. So pretty pleased with that, and a strong backing once again. One of our key shareholders who jumped aboard in late 2019 is Jarrett Canyon Canada. They're a privately owned company owned by Eric Sprott, and they have a private gold mining operation in Nevada. So every financing they've kept up. They're just around, well, they're at 20%, 15% outstanding right now. They're trying to keep around under the 20%. So that's been our anchor and carrying through. And with that support, we've also had a good chunk came in with Coast Capital, based in New York. A lot of money came out of the States. This surprises me, but excites me because Americans are getting interested in what we're doing up here in Canada. And that's very important. Those hard dollars are dollars that are difficult to get. They're not called hard for any one reason. And flow through as a Canadian tax incentive for Canadian shareholders. However, we did well, really pleased with it. We've got more than enough money to roll us through the next couple of years of our programs.
Great. So what's the burn rate and what's your share structure look like?
Share structure is about, it's what's posted there is about 79 million shares outstanding. We actually have 80 because some people have exercised warrants that'll be coming out next few days, but it's around 80 million shares outstanding. I said about 15% of the major show, and I'm tallying up the results right now, so I'm not fully on it, but there's about 15 million warrants and about 7.3 million stock options that are sitting out there. About easily 50 or 60%, and I haven't tabulated that part. I was just working on it this morning, is mainly major shareholders. I just mentioned two of them. A large group in Calgary has been with the company for a long time. There's about 4 or 5 of them, independent, that own about 7 or 8%. I have about 1.7 million shares of myself that I own, plus stock options. Management has, I got to figure out where we are now. We're around 6 or 7%. So we got a good chunk that's controlled by a core group. We do want to, and their volatility's been kicking up, was around 7,000 shares, sometimes 10 shares a day, and now it's getting up around 130,000 shares a day. So the volume's picked up big time since we started our financing activity. Burn rate, you asked about it, pretty cheap. We've been pretty much beans and wieners type of company for a while. Play it pretty tight. I work out of my home. We don't. Our office is just a holding place for now in Toronto. Mailing address. We don't need to have an office necessarily, and I can get to Toronto or anywhere I need to be very fast. I prefer to be closer to the properties when I need to be. So our burn rate's down around. Our capital is here. Mainly, our money's going into paying for option payments, but we had budgeted about $600,000 Canadian to keep the company going, and most of that's going to be going to option payments. And we're spending more money on investor relations, about $100,000 this year, because we had spent nothing on it in the last 3 years. Wasn't any point to it. Now there is. There's an audience and people are listening. One last thing I'm going to comment on, I keep hitting on the US, and I'm happy to see this. Before July, we had never traded a single share on the over-the-counter pinks ever. I didn't even know we had a listing. And then suddenly in 2 months, we're trading 700,000 shares. To me, that's exciting. Again, it points to the case we got Americans interested in what we're doing, and that's really exciting.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, there's a lot of let's say mining enthusiasts in the United States, and we all know what the pink sheets are. Most people don't have a clue, but no, that's good, and that's good news. Now, you on your news release, your news portion of your website, you have something to do with the Northern Miner. Were you published in there recently?
We did. We got a. We were. I think I'm trying to remember what it was. We were selected the 7 top juniors to be aware of in northwestern Canada. So that was pretty. We also got written up in the Alaska News too. Alaska News wrote us up as also, and had a pretty nifty picture there as well. I don't know where they're getting their pictures from, but they got a pretty nifty picture of photo of the site. Yeah, that's pretty exciting to get that kind of coverage. It shows. I mean, we've been working hard at this. We've been getting very good results. I won't deny this. We've been putting out pretty good press releases the last couple of years, but every time we did, like our peers, we were getting the stuffing beaten out of us on the market because people were trying to liquidate and get money into cannabis as fast as they can. I see that turning around. Yeah, we've been getting good press coverage, and I'm happy to see that. So again, we're just kicking off our marketing campaign. We want to reach out to the States, and we're looking at upgrading our listing in the over-the-counter down there. I don't think we'll go full pin there. We're too small for that, but we'll see if we can do about upgrading so it's more accessible to investors outside of Canada.
I listened carefully, but I'm not sure I got it right. So I'll just ask you directly, Kim. Are you proposing to take this all the way through to a mine, or you have a different exit strategy?
Anything that works the best for shareholders, not me, myself being one, works. I mean, if we got offered a ridiculous, we're going to take this on as if we are going to take it to production. We're going to do all the proper thing. We know all the route to go. We know the environmental permitting end, been there inside and out of it. We're all very competent at that sort of thing, and that's the way we are going. Our drill program this year is actually designed, I hope we get enough drilling in time to get us a first NI 43-101. We're looking at what we have to do for permitting. That's the way we run. We aren't out there to just drill holes to get intersections and impress the market, because the market typically isn't impressed. We're out there to impress other companies, the juniors, the midterms. Those are the guys that are going to lay down the $500 million to pick your project up and then make everybody rich. So we're appealing to them as much as anyone, and we know how to do that. It would be fun to take it right to production and run it. That would be a life dream of mine, to take a project, and also my colleagues that we work with, to take it from an early stage and bring it right to production. We can do that because we have done it. But if it comes to the point where somebody offers money that's too good, we'll do the right thing for everybody, and we'll just go back and reinvest that into if we aren't paying dividends, which I know people would like, we would be out there looking at the next project we can turn around and take forward.
Excellent. I like that answer. You know, it serves shareholders, and you have that in mind. And obviously, yep, you've got money in it yourself. You've got some pretty well-known institutional types that are behind the project as well. You're in a sweet spot as far as I'm concerned. You mentioned a moment ago about $1,900 gold. Once we get above the 2000s, and that becomes sort of your baseline, then we start into the 2s, 24s, 25s. And even moving into the 3s, even Bank of America said they're expecting $3,000 gold. They're not expecting it, 10 years from now either. They're looking fairly near term. So what is your assessment? I know you are a geologist. I know what your, work situations are, but nonetheless, we're all human. We all think of, most of us in my arena, think of gold as money. Maybe you don't, but regardless of what you think of gold, what's your idea about the gold price going forward?
I love that question. I got that question asked to me by an investor about a year ago, and I didn't have a very good answer. I thought about it. So, you know what? I should have known the answer. It's an obvious one. And the simple one is this, and it's not my wisdom. It came to me. But 100 years ago, an ounce of gold bought you a very good suit. An ounce of gold was about $32, $35 an ounce 100 years ago, and it bought you a very good quality suit. And today, an ounce of gold buys you a very good quality suit. So gold, it's a simple lesson there. Gold holds its value. It's up and down. How many dozen eggs will it buy 100 years ago today? So, and if I took that number and I said, well, let's extrapolate what'll a good quality suit cost you in 100 years from now? It's about, I think, $270,000. So it goes, that's the value of the dollar the currency it doesn't hold. Gold holds, and that's what you got to hang in there for. And sometimes it dips for a while, and that's where you got to hold your breath and survive and breathe through a straw till it comes back again. So that's what we've done, and I think we are, as you said, in a sweeter spot than we have been in the last 3 or 4 years.
Well, I've covered everything I like to. I like to look at the projects, the people, the financing, the share structure, the upside, and of course, how familiar you are with your product. I'm trying to be funny here, Kim.
Yeah.
Thank you for those two very good answers. I appreciate it. Is there anything that we haven't discussed that our viewers should know about?
We've covered a lot of things off, and I suspected that it was going to be a thing that I would add at the end. I guess if I was just to summarize in a whole here, is that we're all a bunch of guys. Some younger guys have joined us recently. I'm pretty excited about that. We got the CFO from Jaguar Mining, a very successful operation there, on our board. We also have his colleague, basically the VP Exploration, John Hill, also a Jaguar Mining, just joined the board in the last 9 months. And we have the Senior Vice President of Jarrett Canyon. People might not know a lot about that. A very successful turnaround of a gold mine that had been around for a while, brownfields, and probably managed badly in the past. So we got some young talent in there, but we got some older guys too that have been there. I mean, I can probably almost remember gold was $35 an ounce. That's how I think about it, and penny weights instead of grams per ton. But I think what I'm getting around to here is you've got overall the experience that has seen it from inside and out, and we're looking at projects that we're very picky on things that we think we can get started with a low capital, very successful, will not make the mistakes that other companies have done that we've seen in the past, because they're there to be seen, not because they're smarter or better, but probably just because we've seen it and done that. And I think that's probably what it is. We're revisiting. It looks like an exploration early stage company, but we got everything it takes to take even more advanced projects and bring the production forward. So we're more than just what you see on our website or you see in the information. We got more there, more substance and depth in it here.
Well, Kim, I want to thank you for your time. The most precious commodity any human has is our time.
Yes.
Thank you for giving us yours. I can hardly wait to get back to you 6-9 months out and see how much progress you've made. And I absolutely wish you the best. It's a tough business, but can be so rewarding. So
yeah, it is. You got that exactly. It can be very rewarding, but it's tough. I guess that's why we do it. It's easy. Somebody else would be doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the time.
You're welcome.
Take care. Bye-bye.